Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tsegofatso Mbuyamba. I should actually be calling myself Chegofatso. To my returning subscribers, thank you very much. To my new subscribers, I appreciate the love. Go ahead and share the link with your friends, your family, and your cycle. Somebody could potentially be blessed. Today on this channel, I'm going to be talking about my ectopic pregnancy journey and how that went about. It's not really an exciting story, but it ends well because everything with God ends with God's glory. Just to give a bit of an insight, I got married on the 1st of October 2016. And just before we got married, I remember my husband and I had a conversation while we were courting, because we're Christians. We were in a courtship relationship, and we made a conscious and a purposeful decision that we were not going to defile our marital bed, meaning we were not going to engage sexually. We wanted to experience that in marriage. So the two of us agreed on that, and we both moved along with it. What inspired the decision firstly was because we are born again Christian. Number two is that we just didn't want to defile our marital bed. So yeah, just to fast forward so that the story is not long, I got married on the 1st of October 2016. It was an amazing day. It was beautiful. And shortly after, we got married in Limpopo province, because I got married at home, in Limpopo province. The wedding took place and we came back to Joburg after a few days. And the other decision that we had made was that we wanted to give ourselves an opportunity to start a family. I really don't know why we made that decision from an early age. If I could advise a younger me, I would say that wait a little bit, because my husband and I made yet another conscious decision that we were not going to use any family planning because we wanted to start a family. I got married at the age of 28, so perhaps age was a factor in it. One of the things that happens especially in our black communities, that when a young woman appears to be pursuing her career more and she turns 25, 26, you get a lot of pressure, especially from your relatives, saying that when are you going to have a baby. Trust me, I did get that as well, especially when I was turning 26. And now I think I had registered for my honors degree, and they were like, what's going on? She's just pursuing education. Are we going to get grandchildren? But all things happen at the timing of God. So kick back into the story is that now it's like the beginning of November. I remember I was at work. I started getting sick. I was having hemorrhoids and fibroids, and it was just so painful. Like, I was just going through such an excruciating pain. And I remember at that time I said to my former manager, and I said to him, I'm not feeling well, and I'm in excruciating pain. Please permit me to go to the hospital to get checked in terms of what's going on. He said fine, and I went to Linksfield Hospital because it was the closest to me. Netcare Linksfield, it was closest to me. So I went there into the emergency department. I explained what was the situation, and they said to me, no, you need to see a surgeon who can help you with what you're going through. You may be referred into to go into theater, but the surgeon will decide. So I then moved over to his room with as a referral, and when I got there, the surgeon checked me. He was like, things don't look really good. You actually have a tearing on your rectum. Guys, that is just so painful. The story of constipation, hemorrhoids, and rectum pain, all that, it's a very sensitive topic. I don't think I want to talk about it today. We can tackle it on another day. So today we're just going to focus on the ectopic pregnancy. So when I was in the doctor's room, the surgeon's room, he was like, let me have a look. After he gave me that report, it was like, it doesn't look good. We might have to take him to the theater to just saw a little bit in terms of what's going on. But before we take him to theater, we need to do some tests. We need to run pregnancy tests, blood pressure, just to check before. We cannot do any procedure without this. I was like, okay, fine. So he took my bloods and all that. And the beauty of, obviously, I just thank God that I'm privileged to be able to go for private health care, is that you get your results quicker. So I think about an hour or so, the doctor, this was like the first week of November 2016, The doctor came back, within an hour. He was like, oh, congratulations, you are 2 weeks pregnant. I was just like, whoa, does it really happen that way? Like, God is just amazing. You're literally, if you wait and you wait on God, you don't get yourself doing things that God says don't do, truly God does, honor this marriage. I was so excited. I was thrilled. I was like, wow, I'm seeing the reward of my patience with my husband. So he was like, I can't take you into theater now because you're starting another journey, which is the journey to, motherhood. So I drove out of the hospital, called my husband. I said, yo, babe, you're gonna be a dad. He was excited, and I'm so close with my mom. So I also gave the phone call to my mother. I'm like, oh, finally you're going to be a grandmom. Oh, my mother was excited. Everyone was excited. Such an exciting journey. You know what? A few days goes by, and on one morning on my way to work, as per the norm, we all, shower, get ready and all that. While I was just, using the bathroom, I realized that I'm bleeding. And I'm like, you know what? This is my first pregnancy. I don't really know much about pregnancy, but I don't think that a pregnant woman should be bleeding. I then decided to let them know at work that I'm not going to come. I'm starting by the hospital. I went again to Linksfield. When I got there, I explained to them that I'm bleeding. They were like, okay, fine. Since you're pregnant, we're going to refer you to a gynae, and I was referred to the gynae's room. It was a female gynae. She took a couple of tests to check the levels of pregnancy, and she was like, no, the pregnancy is growing. It is growing, but the thing is, you're pregnant, but we don't see anything, in your uterus as yet. But she was like, I don't want to panic. These things do happen where you find that, because when you're pregnant, the egg, it takes time to travel from the fallopian tube all the way, from what they told me, it takes a few days to travel all the way to your uterus. Mine took a bit of a while from what she was saying. She was very positive. She's like, you know what? I have seen this story before where somebody was bleeding and we couldn't see anything in the uterus, but it took a few days to travel into, I think it's the fetus, to travel into the uterus so we can see it on the scan. So she was like, she gave me some multivitamin, and she's like, okay, here's your multivitamin, be taking this and let's see how it goes. Fine. A few days keep going by, I'm still bleeding, and I'm like, this just doesn't really make sense, and the bleeding is starting to increase now. And then I remember going back again to the hospital. So now I'm in and out of hospital now. I went back to the hospital, and she was like, you know what, I'm going to keep you into the keep you in the rooms so I can monitor you for about 2 days or so. I was like, okay, fine, because now I was bleeding too much. So she's like, but you're still pregnant, it's just that the numbers are not looking good. We're taking blood tests. My hand, I remember on my right hand I was turning green now, because now, blood tests have been taken. I'm like, what's going on now? Just a week ago I was just so thrilled and excited. My family now were just excited that I'm starting this journey that they've been looking forward to. She put me in the room. She was monitoring me every morning. I was going to her room, and it just wasn't really looking good, but also not looking that bad. So she was like, you know what, let's give it another week. So she discharged me, and then I go home, stay for about another few days again. And I remember on this particular day, it was a Sunday, my husband and I lived in Baklu at the time, and my sister lived in Bramley. So every Sunday I used to fetch her to church. So on that Sunday again, the same routine where my husband went early to church, and then I was going to follow him and pass by Bramley to fetch my sister. Scripture that says the steps of the righteous are orchestrated by the Lord. It is indeed true. God orchestrates our steps and certain things that happen in our life. I remember on that particular Sunday, I decided that I'm going to drive through Louis Botha so I can connect through Joe Slovo. Occasionally, I generally drive through the highway, but on that Sunday, I was like, no, I don't want to drive that route. And for those who know or those who do not know, Linksfield is not far from Louis Botha, and it's by Orange Group. So I drove on that. I picked them up, and then I used that route as I planned. Just before we get to this nearby garage, I literally said to my sister, oh my goodness, I cannot feel my butt. I feel like I'm paralyzed, especially on my bum. And my sister didn't understand what's going on. I was like, listen, I feel like I'm being paralyzed on my bum. And she was like, okay. I was like, let me drive to the garage and we can check what's going on. You know, when I get to the garage, I realize I can't even come out of the car. So I asked them, like, please come out. My sister's name is Hendrika. So I said, Hendrika, please come out. Let me balance on you. And then we go to the bathroom. Quickly go into the bathroom. By the time I get there, I check myself, guys. I was just having an overflow of blood and clots now coming out. And I said to them, guys, we have to detour now. I'm in pain, but it wasn't like a painful pain, you know, it was manageable. So I was like, let's go into Linksfield, and thank God it was 3 minutes away. I quickly drove there. When I arrived at Linksfield at the emergency department, the doctor on call said to me, look, a woman in your situation needs to be admitted because you're having severe bleeding, and your gynae would have to come in and have a look at you. So I was quickly, you know, fast forward, moved into the rooms, and my husband came in, took the car and my sister's home. And I remember when I was in the ward, I was in such an excruciating pain. I was screaming like a mad woman. So I think, you know, ectopic pregnancy does rupture. So I think mine ruptured while I was driving, but I didn't experience pain. I only had the aftermath of the rupture where I was starting to experience excruciating pain. So now the following day, my gynae comes in and she takes me to her room. She's like, listen, you definitely had an ectopic pregnancy. We need to take you to theater to clean you up. Mentally, I was not really prepared for that, and I was just like, I want to give this another chance, you know. So fast forward, I remember our friends came to see us at the hospital. My husband was there in the evening. They're like, why don't you get a second opinion, you know, because my gynae was like, you know what, I can't see where this pregnancy is, and if I don't see it, I'm not gonna do a laparoscopic procedure. Laparoscopic is just tiny cuts, 2 on your waist and 1 on your belly button. So that's how they clean an ectopic pregnancy. But she was like, I can't see this and I might have to do a C-section. Oh, that freaked me out. When she said that, I was like, I'm not ready for this. Firstly, I wasn't ready that I'm gonna lose the pregnancy. Secondly, now you're telling me that you may potentially do a C-section. I was just not prepared for it. So our friends came in and they're like, why don't you get a second opinion? And you know, for some reason I really bought the idea, but my gynae could see that I was so scared. She brought me another person who of a higher authority called. They said he was the professor. He promised me that he'll do a laparoscopic, but my husband and I were sold that, you know, we want a second opinion. So we made a conscious decision to get discharged from the hospital, which is a risk. So the hospital said yes, they cannot retain me outside of my will. So what they did was they gave me forms that I rejected. I rejected service at the hospital so that if anything happens to me, I don't come back and sue the hospital. So I signed the forms and we discharged ourselves. Now we drive back home, and then I slept home. I remember, I think it was a Tuesday or so, slept home on that Tuesday night, and on Wednesday my husband and I decided, you know what, things are getting out of hand now. I'm still bleeding and the pain has subsided. Like, it's not as heavy as it was, it has reduced, but I do need to be seen by a gynae. So we decided that, you know what, it was in the evening, we packed my bag and we decided that we're gonna pray. We decided to pray and say, you know what, let God direct our steps. After we prayed and packed my bag, because we knew that someone in my situation will definitely be admitted. So we after prayer, we searched for net care near us, and the one that was the closest was Sunning Hill. So we got into the car. It was about 2.5 kilometers or 2.1. Got into the car, went into Sunning Hill. When we got there, I explained to them my situation, and I even told the lady at the reception that please do get my file from Linksfield because I was there in and out. It's like, okay, fine. So I go into the emergency cubicles. When I got there, the nurse was there. The first thing she said, wow, you're so lucky. You're going to be given the best guide in the hospital. And I knew there that God has answered our prayers. So she quickly did my filing and took me into the ward as well. Same thing happened again. When I got into the ward, the nurse was at the ward, was not connected to the nurse at the reception at the emergency section. Said, you have been allocated the best gynae. Not only that, he is also a pastor. Now I just felt this peace surrounding me, and I knew that, you know, I was at the right place. So just to fast forward, the doctor came in. Shout out to Dr. Majachani at Sunning Hill Hospital, the best gynae for me personally. He was the best gynae. And Dr. Majachani came to see me at night at 11. He came to see me, and he was so convincing, guys. It was like, you know what, I don't need to even to check you, but based on your file, he was so calm, and and I could believe it was he came in a believable way. You know, it was like, your situation, I can tell you now that you definitely had an ectopic and I need to take you to theater. So it was like, tomorrow morning I'll get someone, if you want to come into my room, I'll get someone to come and wheel you to my rooms so you can see, and then in the evening we book it for theater. fast forward, that happened. We went to the room. He did prove to me that, look, it's an ectopic pregnancy. We need to get you cleaned. The very same night, I was booked into theater. What I was told was that the procedure, the laparoscopic procedure, is normally about an hour or so, but I was there for about more than 2 hours. I just remember going in, and obviously they gave me the anesthetic and you sleep throughout. I remember being back in my room, and my husband was sitting just right there waiting for me to wake up, because I was still under a lot of the anesthetic, so I was half awake. I couldn't really remember some of the things, but I remember seeing the lady from the theater. One of the ladies, she came there to check how I'm doing, and she was telling my husband, I remember this conversation. She was saying to my husband that you guys came on time. She said this woman was just at the verge of dying. She was gonna die a silent death, because we found a lot of blood in her in her system, in her immune system, and nobody was gonna know what happened, but we were gonna know with afterwards. She was like, you came right on time. I remember having this discussion with my friend that I kept on resisting an operation. I almost died, but she said, you know what, Seho, I believe that your faith kept you alive. You are here today now. So yes, I was cleaned. It was a painful thing, to lose a pregnancy that I was just so excited about, but God is a God of restoration. Well, I thank God that He restored me. I remember my gynae saying to me, Tseho, there are two things that are working against you. You must remember that now, because they also found a fibroid. So I want to talk about the fibroid story on a separate topic as well, because it was such a journey on my first pregnancy. I remember with that as well was that he was like, look, you've got a fibroid already that is working against you. You now have one tube. So I only have one tube on the right hand side, because when you have an ectopic pregnancy, when they do the cleaning, you do lose that tube as well. They cut it and they tie it. Yes, I do have one tube that seems to be working productively, so thank God. He was like, you may not be able to conceive. When I got discharged out of the hospital, I was just so emotional. I used to cry so much, because I'm like, God, what have I done to deserve this? But didn't know that God had a greater plan for me. He knew what He was doing, and my doctor's like, you may not conceive, but today I have two beautiful sons that I love, and I love so much that I believe that God blessed me with my children. Just to wrap up the story, I want to say to somebody who may have experienced an ectopic pregnancy that do not lose heart, do not give up. God knows what He's doing. That God is the writer of our stories. He who began a good thing in you, He is faithful enough to complete it. And I want to read a scripture to someone who may be trying to have a child. They've told you that you're barren. There's nothing wrong with the report of the doctors, but the Bible says, whose report will you believe? Believe the report of the Lord. In the book of Psalms 127 verse 3, the Bible says, lo, children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is His reward. Children are indeed a blessing from God. The fruit of the womb is a reward from the Lord. Don't lose hope. May you look at me and be encouraged that indeed the same woman who was told that she may not have children, I have one tube, I had a fibroid at the time, so it's almost like everything was working against me to have children, but God was like, whose report will you believe? Is there anything too hard for the Lord? There is nothing too hard for God. So I just want to share a brief prayer with somebody trusting God for a miracle, for a new thing. It doesn't have to be a baby. I pray that, Lord, in the name of Jesus, in this moment, that you may touch every womb that is trusting you, oh God, for the reward, oh God, for the fruit of the womb, that when they listen to the story, Lord, the story will not be just the Bible says that the latter killeth, but the spirit give life. May this words be spirit, touch their lives. Heavenly Father, may you visit us at every corner, every area of our lives. May every dry bone in our lives come to life. May you breathe on our situation, Lord, and our situations will leave. Have faith that God will come to your house and visit you and your husband, and you will have children. And if you're trusting God for a new season, God will come through for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe, to comment, like, and engage with me on this topic. And it is to the glory of God. See you next time. Thank you.